Hello, my name is Jason Lacey. Been with the university now for a little over 11 years. Full-time spent at FOD, was there at quality, come up about 4 years ago into lead chief role, and I'm here now. Been fortunate passing to Rich, trying to make some decisions. I'm here, so we'll see how this rolls from here.
I personally believe that Jason has an outstanding quality. And I do believe that he'll be an outstanding asset to the team. And I think in the future you'll see that. I believe he's very strong. And the future is bright for it. And I believe that he makes us better. Regardless of how every team, I believe he makes us better. Now it's time for stewards to introduce themselves.
Tony Brown, Medical Center.
General Plan Secretary of State. He's also the lead
Jason Lacey, lead chief for FOD.
As we've already stated, and you've already heard stated, this is our first meeting, really since passing of our former president. And he was one of the first and we have to continue to do really what he gave his life to do. But since he has passed, there's been some things have occurred. Some training has taken place. 4 of us, 5 went to what we call a boot camp that was held by District 4. It was available for people to come around, locals from all around the nation to attend. And they came from as far as Texas, Arizona, California to attend this boot camp. And the boot camp was held at one of the locals in town. It's called a 40B20 out on East Broad Street. The process or purpose of that boot camp was to help us reframe or shape the conversation on how to speak to people and also to prepare us to be multiple actions. And after investing a great deal of money going around the nation on training union members, there are several other meetings in the Ohio area, and there's even some chance that we have some members who have them that we can take to another site once we find out where it's happening in the state. That expense is actually been reimbursed by the district. So we pay up front and the district turns around and pays lost wages back to the local students that might want to attend those sessions. In those sessions, we really dealt with one of the legs of what we call the CWA triangle. That was political action, political causes, how we got into the shape that we have to be in as a nation, as far as unions are concerned, and why political activity is crucial that we are to remain as a part of the American fabric and landscape. And also to get us to understand that we really are the last, for lack of a better word, fire door stopping this rich and poor society that is underway. You is the last stop. Those who work in this are the last stop in taking us to nothing but really soon rich and poor. And they're determined to crush the middle class. We have formed coalitions, collaborate with groups who are outside of the union in order to make sure that doesn't become a reality. And framing that conversation is our job it's our calling to get the tabernacle, the flower shop, the baker, the local baker, the bar, the chicken, pizza shop. It's our job to them or them to understand that if we go down, they go down. Now, if our wages are depressed, our wages are pushed down, that's less money that we have to spend at the flower shop, the baker, pizza shop, car dealership. That's less money that we have to spend. It shows on average, that an average family, husband and wife, they each, in their right to work state, make at least $567 less. It shows that right to work state, that the quality on the job are in the hundreds % greater than the states where they have collective bargaining. There are many reasons why we as labor and other leadership forms come together for our own collective good. And those things are top key in the weekend. We also come to a direct understanding that we are often under attack from our senators, state representatives, the governor in their local state, that they possess the ability to take those gains that we have the bargaining table, we bargain for them, we win them, and the legislation takes it away. We have to understand that. So in essence, I got a t-shirt on today. Much of the meeting centered around standing up and fighting back. That's the reason why I wore it. That we have become a model that we can bring to live by. Stand up, fight back. And the principal way that we fight back, besides the things that we must do on the job, really and truly is our political activity. It's one of the greatest blocks of power that this nation knows. And we have to turn out to vote. We have to vote. We have to vote our interests. And I will say it right here and right now. That does not mean you have to vote Democrat. But you have to vote the Democratic ticket. But you do have to vote for the person who supports labor. Black, white, male, female, LGBT, Indian, doesn't matter. If they support labor, we as labor support them. If they support labor, we as union members vote for them. We have to remove all other biases that we might have, because our vote perpetuates or continues to help us have our way of life, the democracy that we come to enjoy and really to take for granted. Severely under attack. Under attack. We identified and they identified several key seats within the House of Representatives in the state of Ohio that we will concentrate on and attempt to win those seats. Ohio is probably the most powerful, the most evenly divided state as far as red and blue. One of the toughest battlegrounds. You never know if it's going to go Republican or it's going to go Democratic in a big national election. Same thing in Florida. But our state house is 100% controlled by the party that wears red. And the only reason that is because they gerrymander, so they can't lose. We have to also begin to get people to understand that. There was issue 2, maybe 2 elections ago that dealt with gerrymandering, but we didn't explain that to them. We didn't talk about that. People didn't understand it. Now you say people who were out lobbying for it and pressing for it couldn't speak about it well. Or people had a full understanding as to what they were attempting or what they wanted them to do or the program that particular legislation we wanted to have somewhat for balance. But those boot camps are about teaching us to make sure that we can explain our cause, that we can explain our point of view, that we get people to understand that we are fighting for our way of life. So in doing that, we spent 2 days, 9 to 6 the first day, 9 to 4:30 the second day, dealing with those issues specifically. It's our job to come back and fire you up, motivate you, speak to you, and try to see how the dots connect and where they have to be. In that position that we have to be in, one of the key things that we must make is the Secretary of State. And we have members where that's actually a CWA office. We have members, Tim, Secretary, even our Treasurer. They're all from the Secretary of State. That's one of our units. That particular office attempts to offer set the hours which we have to devote. Shorten the days, lengthen the days, in which we have the ability to vote. Shortening days to vote, eliminating days to vote is about nothing but voter suppression. And that normally affects the vote that will help us in labor. That normally affects our vote. We suppress it, we cut back days, limit how many machines have to be fully holding on. Those things suppress the vote. Get people discouraged, to turn around, walk away, and the vote doesn't get out. Why is that important? Last gubernatorial election was actually won by like 88,000 votes. 88,000 votes between Kasich and Strickland that determined on that very crucial seat. And it was one of the worst turnouts in years for that particular gubernatorial election. And we turned it out, and we put our members out, they came out to vote, the people came out and voted. I believe John Kasich would be in office, but he is. And that's how we got SB 5. Strickland Whitman signed SB 5. But that's how we got SB 5. Seat's very important. Very, very important. Also got David Pepper, ran for Attorney General. We went in here at the bargaining table, we went it in arbitration, we take it away in the courthouse. Take away common pleas to judges. Often people pay absolutely no attention to who's going to be judged. Sometimes they don't even hit that box. Go around and push the button at the end and say it's finished. Don't pay much attention to who the judge is going to be. One thing that happened this week, and about 5 weeks ago, we won 2 arbitrations here at the university. Lee Paul was awarded his job back after almost 3 years, full back pay. Down to Secretary of State. Down to Secretary of State, they won a very big battle. Was awarded back pay, a unit that is closely linked with things that have been happening in the state, the downturn. I believe they didn't have a raise for like 6 years. 6. But they found out that top leadership was getting raises. They were awarding managers and things raises when nobody was supposed to get a raise. Fit that to arbitration. We won that this week. We got a 5.48% rating. All the way back. That's great. That's wonderful. But that could be appealed down in common pleas court. It's a random selection of judges is how that process is picked. They'll pick one of the judges that will have to sit on that case if it occurs. There are several common pleas up for grabs. I think there are 3 or 4 in this go-round. But the wrong judge is sitting in that seat. Votes against labor, make the decisions in the interest of labor. If that's appeal, they can throw it out the window. That's why politics matters. In everything that we do. There are some judges who are 100% labor friendly. We have to know who they are. Mary Joy Kilgore is one. So you speak with her. She's one of them. And there are several others that we have to know where to cast that vote, because it may be a vote that helps us or the labor movement at some point in time. So it's very key that when we come to political status, know how to vote and who we're voting for. One of the things the boot camp also talks about is putting our feet on the ground. That's normally where we have the advantage. I'll make it clear that big money is just a hiding push to eliminate the middle class. Big money. But normally what labor has in its coalition of partners, it's called a boot camp, but we put boots on the ground. We put boots on phone. I mean, there's opportunities for us to go phone bank. And we actually cold call people all around the state and speak to them and ask them to support candidates who are friendly to labor. You'll be given a script. You'll be given a couple of sheets of paper, I'll be honest with you, with calls for you to make. If you don't want to do phone banking, then we do what we call labor walk. It's actually an opportunity today, 10 a.m. to 1, down in 365 one? 395 East Broad Street. 395 East Broad Street, AFL Shadow Office. They'll be out from 10 to 1 today in various parts of the city of Columbus, knocking on doors. You go out and knock on doors. You'll be behind literature that speaks to supporting representing candidates who are pro-labor. They need volunteers. It's the only way that we can match the money that the other side has. Is that we get active, we knock on doors, we be behind literature, we speak to our friends, that we all have what we like to call a circle that we have influence in, spirit influence. Everybody in the room does. You got 4 or 5 people that you can influence in both one way or the other. Somebody you can lend and give information to influence him or her vote. We need you to do that, and we need you to vote. We need them both. So we need you to be active in that process. Don't have the number right now, but one of the ways to become a volunteer, if you can leave your number when you leave, but normally once you leave your number, we will email you or text flash you opportunities to either phone bank, labor walk, or even give you updates of the things that we would like you to do. What does that mean? Often there's some pending legislation that's coming that will be damaging to your way of life. We'll ask you to text that particular representative and ask him or her not to support that particular bill or law. If there's a trade policy that will hurt your job, we'll have you text, email, call that office and ask him or her not to support that job. A beautiful thing happens when 5,000 emails all take off at the same time. 5,000 phone calls occur in the process of the day. The work doesn't get done. Then they're going to talk to you. They want to know, what can I do to stop these calls from coming? It works. So we have to get delivery out. If you leave your number back there, it text you, it lists you, and we'll go out with you. I'll go with you. I'll go make phone calls with you. Even if you're making phone calls, often there's pizza and things like that for you to eat. And of course, there's bottled water. The will provide you bottles of water when you're out there knocking on doors and things of that nature. But we must get to this now. One thing that we do, strongly encourage you to do is always identify yourself as with CWA. District, we get monitored. I said, you are. So you're going to go out. You then, your home area. You go to a labor walk, you let them know you're a CWA sometime. So we as a unit get credit for the service that you do. They don't give us any money. But it says that we are helping to protect really our job and our way of life. We're not just sitting around letting other folks do all the work, but we are participating in that particular process. I would like to go back temporarily for the Secretary of State, and there's such pride in winning that particular arbitration. You want to start on that a little bit?
Sure. As said, for the last, actually, a little bit longer than 2 years ago, and because of the budget shortage, we agreed via our contract to not ask for a raise. Therefore, management said, okay, well, we won't have raises, and you're not going to get a raise, so we're all in this together. So one of our members went online and saw that there were some raises, or it appeared to be raises given to the management officials. So we decided to look into that issue. And long story short, we found that the contract was violated because we have a parity me too clause in our contract that says if you get a raise, we get one. Me too. So we, of course, did not win the grievance, took it to arbitration. And after a couple of years, we won. And Kevin said we were given, and was that 46 months? How much back pay did we get? 26. 26?
Yeah, 20 to January 1st of 2012, date of the contract.
We received back pay, and then we will receive an increase of 5.48 an hour. And and so what we did when we found out that we were going to give it to one, we just went through all the office, kind of like Sally Field. Union. And management, of course, was very unhappy, but anytime that you violate the contract, we have to hold you accountable because you do the same thing for us. And when we arbitrate, which Kevin will talk about, it's like in the case of Lee and the case of the Secretary of State. This is why we need you, we need money, because it costs $18,000. And we pay half that, but still, $9,000 is a lot of money, and that's a hit to our budget as the treasurer. And that's a hit to our budget, so we have to have money in order to fight what we're facing.
The only thing I would add is that sometimes we get confused. It seems like everything is okay because it makes right there. What do I mean by right there? If we lose a we're not able to take control of certain officers. The things that will happen to us, we believe, as far as labor is concerned, it will take us generations to overcome. Our youngest son is 24. But some folks say he'll still be fighting in the state. We're not able to win and grab some seats in this particular go-around. The student group, one of the things that surprised me, that the preacher stood up and she gave the same exact speech. She said, we'll be behind generations. We don't win the peace that we need to win in this upcoming election. Why did we make such a point? Because for generations they have been fighting to slowly put us where we happen to be. This attack didn't just occur in the last 6 years. One of the things that we learned in boot camp, JC was there and the others were there, they've been trying to roll back, push us where we happen to be since probably 1954 or 48. It's not new. And they knew that it would be slow, they knew that it would be steady, but they also vowed that they would win. So they've been pushing back all our rights for almost now 57 years, close to 60, ever since we won collective bargaining. Ever since unions were formed, they seen them forward. They made a pact, I'm talking about corporations, to roll back our rights. If we don't win this go-round, they feel very confident that they'll have us in a position that will take us 40 years to turn around. That's enough about that particular piece of what we need to do. We ourselves, in both Secretary of State, OSU, even Pickaway County, in the next 10 months will all be negotiating new contracts. Almost 2 of them at the same exact time will be negotiating Secretary of State contracts in OSU at the same exact time. A little bit after that, we go down to Pickaway County and Circleville, Ohio, and attempt to negotiate that contract. We have to begin to compile, put together our concerns, things that we want to see from upcoming contracts. Talk about the things that have tripped us up, stumbled us, where we've had issues and problems. And one of the things I want us to look at is not always about wages. Because the check, I'm just going to say the check comes. If you go to work, the check comes every 2 weeks. One of the things we have to be concerned about is working conditions. How are we treated on the job? What kind of rights do we have on the job? Do they honor the contract? Do they respect the contract? That's a big issue that we as your leaders, because we most certainly as unions, when we sit down and we feel that the contract has been violated, and we're in a grievance, we're in a corrective action, we want whatever employer that happens to be to honor the contract. If they don't honor it, we have to find some arena, some court, some other area to get it honored. Conditions, respect in the workplace, dignity in the workplace. Make sure you get your 15-minute break in the workplace. Not making you work through your lunch. You got so much work to do, you can't take your lunch or your break. If the boss is treat you like he treats his dog, then you might want to kick. You know, you're going to get a little happy on the weekend. How you treated on the job. So I want you to think about it and realize that that's the utmost importance. Because one of the primary things that you do besides your wages is make sure the workplace conditions are honorable. And your safety. How safe is your work environment? And do they respect OSHA laws? Will they correct the issues we find to be unsafe? Will they honor that portion of the contract? Those things are extremely important. Those things we will begin to speak about. But we also have to begin to speak to our co-workers. We get him or her become more active in his own liberation. We have to get him or her to participate in standing up and fighting back. Don't just let it happen. Tell your steward when the contract's been violated. Speak up and safety regulations of happening problem. Stand up, fight back. That's all we kept echoing over and over again. Went to San Antonio. Stand up, fight back. We have been lulled to sleep. Lulled to sleep. We take whatever happens, whatever kick they give, and we say that whatever they want, then you can do about it, and say it again. Stand up, fight back. You want your conditions to change, you want your work atmosphere to change, you have to stand up and fight back. Several ways to stand up and fight back. Contact your steward, talk to your manager, talk to your steward, file a grievance, talk to your steward, file a grievance, stand up, fight back. Go to the voting polls, stand up, fight back. Vote for candidates that support labor, stand up, fight back. That's the motto. That's the motto. All across this nation, stand up, fight back. Because we are in a fight. In a fight for our way of life. We're in a fight for labor in this nation. One of the things that we also talk about at boot camp was TPP. Now, those of you who come to this monthly meeting on a regular basis, you probably heard that terminology before. TPP. It's called the Trans-Pacific Pact. It's a pact that is being signed by nations around the world. By nations around. Agreement to bargain, trade, to do work with one another. There's a country called Vietnam in that pact. Their wages, 28. And this rush to have everything done, cheap as you can have it done. This nation cannot compete with 28 now. It's impossible. So we have units. CWA is made up of units that, in essence, they're really primarily talking on the phone. Right now, I'm not using. In essence, your operators. The person you talk to in your cell phone is that. The person you call in when you want to talk about your credit cards. The person you talk to in relationship to your gas bill or your electric bill. Some of those jobs make a fair amount of money. But you began to hear a person in India speak. A person in the Philippines speak. And you want somebody who speaks English because they don't understand you and you don't understand them. But America takes that job and sends it overseas because they get paid $28 an hour. And the person in America is starting out at 17 if he's in the right company. 20 if he's in the right company. And in comparison to 17, 20, or 15, can't compete with 28 an hour, especially when they're getting benefits. Can't compete. So those jobs go overseas. Those jobs then leave those communities negative, hurting. Houses foreclosed, your communities ravaged. And those businesses in those areas also begin to close down. We're all connected. The TPP is a deal that is being pushed through Congress, but you cannot talk about it. They will not give you any information on it. That's the rule. They are bargaining with nations around the world, and they will not tell you what they're putting into the TPP package. The little parts are leaking out. One part that we got is called a sovereign nation. That means that if here in America, we'll just say Australia, they begin to run ads and say, we're against teen smoking. And it has occurred. That the tobacco company can sue the country of Australia. And the tobacco company now considers a state of its own. And they can sue them for potential loss of income, not lost income. You are teaching a generation not to smoke. We could have made $6 billion selling them cigarettes. You owe me $6 billion. And the company rights outweigh the nation's ability to have the laws that they need in their nation to protect their people. That's in TPP. Companies are being called states, nations. And their rights supersede the rights that we have in our Constitution and any other, what other countries may have. That's the ability to be given to corporations around the world. If we allow TPP to become the law of this nation. Most people haven't heard of TPP. And flee. So I'm asking us to become politically engaged, be the number in the back, so that we can begin to make you aware of those things that will hurt you, that you can begin to stand up and fight back, that we can equip you so that you know how to fight and help us fight for our way of life. Really, that concludes the second report of I'm running on. At this point in time, we're going to do the committee reports, and we'll start with the treasury report.
Did everyone get a chance to look at the treasury report for the month of May and June? It's not pretty, but the copy. Look it over right quick. Like on the internet, most of the stuff.
Okay. I just want to make, just wanted to, everybody, if anybody has half copies of this, it's still available around the table.
Everybody getting up, I'll just pass it to you. You don't want to.
All in favor, say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Hearing none.
I was trying to get rid of my tickets yesterday. I was going to let you and them go with them. That would have been nice. I sold them at the last minute. That was nice too. Thank you.
There are flyers that for our major candidates tonight that Sheila, Lolita, and myself, with approval of Kevin, they putting together. And as Kevin said, it's very important, it's part of the Stand Up Ohio. It's part of making our voices known. It's part of hiring candidates and firing them. If they are anti-labor, then they need to move on. We have been in this situation for many years since April unfortunately came into office. And this is our livelihood that we're talking about. This is raising our children, putting food in our mouths, this is our home. So we need to get out and vote. If you're not registered, the deadline is October 6th. If you have changed your name from marriage or legally changed your name, you have October 6th. Know where your location is to vote. If you go to the wrong precinct, you can vote. It's provisional, but you still can't vote. I believe in absentee ballot. That's just good for me. The reason it's good, in my opinion, is because if you don't have transportation to vote, moving the precincts all over the house. If you are working and you don't have time to go. If you have children and you don't have a babysitter, you can't go to vote. Sometimes if it's raining, you're not going to get out and vote. If you vote at home, you have voted. You just have to make sure you have a stamp, and you have to make sure that it gets in there prior to the deadline, which is November 4th. I'll get it in there in October. Get it in, as soon as you get your ballot in the mail. Every registered voter in Ohio is going to get an absentee ballot application. You have to fill it out and send it in. I don't know what postage is paid. It may not, I'm not sure. Sorry.
I got mine yesterday. I don't think postage is on it.
Stamp. So you need 2 stamps. One to send in the absentee ballot application. Then when you get your ballot, sit down at home and vote comfortably. And then you stamp and then mail it, put it in the mailbox. Cannot take it to the precinct or anything now to mail it. It's already out in the
So on those things that we send out to your house, is everything on there, like vote for judges?
They only on the ballot once you receive it. But if I were you, I would either come to this hall to find out who is labor endorsed, or you can call the party. But I would go by labor, whoever they endorse. And then, if you're not sure, come to our candidate tonight, October the 20th, at True Love Center. We're going to have the candidate for Secretary of State, the attorney is going to be there. Kevin Boyd is going to be there, state rep. Judge Betsy Schuster is going to be there. Jennifer Brewer is going to be there. Mary Jo Kilworth is going to be there. Michael Poe is going to be there. We got lots of people coming. It's going to be a blessed event. So please take a flyer and please be there, because this is for you. We're doing this for you and you. So I really hope to see you there. We're going to have contests for kids, a voter, what is it, Sheila?
Democracy Works poster contest,
And
you're going to have
and a voter registration wrappers contest. So we want the kids involved at an early age. Once they get into the democracy process, then they'll expect to vote as they get older.
Amen.
So So please come out to that. And that's a big time.
I want to thank Cynthia for her report. One of the things that I didn't talk about during the president's report is, over the summer, we had 2 grillers. We invited all the members to come down to the hall and have burgers and hot dogs, sausage and chips. We did it on 2 occasions. And they came, and when they came, we saw some pretty good numbers, actually hundreds. But that was just a small opportunity or chance for us to give something back to you all. I do want to say that we're going to do one more, but it won't be what we've been really calling grilling. We're trying to think of a football game in which we can, of course, we'll give up that game. That we can invite you all out to the hall and watch the game together and eat and really get comfortable and fellowship together. It's really giving something back to you. We're going to put the game up on the wall, big wall, and actually in that space right there. So you'll see them running around and we'll be fellowshipping with one another, having a great time. So you'll look for some information in regards to that event and it occurring, but I want to thank you did come to the grillers and really, actually, it's our way of saying thank you and giving something back to you, but there will be one more. We'll go watch a football game again. I don't know if we want to call it grilling. Yeah, grilling, I like that term. Jason tells me I'll be called tailgate party, but we'll call it something, but it will be coming, and it will be coming soon. So look forward to that. You really need to pass a motion for us to extend the leave. If someone will do that. Motion by Lynn Cornegay. Somebody second it, please. Second by Darlene Sutherland. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed by the same side. Is there any new business that we'd like to discuss moving forward? Anybody like new business?
It's not necessarily new business, since we talked about workplace safety today.
What's your name, sir?
David Hughes. I've been a part of workplace safety, more particularly asbestos, hazards in the workplace. I'm the last of the asbestos group of the university. And since that work has been contracted out, I've been bounced around in utilities, and I've witnessed quite a disregard for safety in the workplace. And I was hoping to get a chance to talk to somebody today about that, and more particularly about my situation, since that work was contracted out. My job title has not been abolished, but I feel somewhat pointed out by management since I've got my 30 years in. It seems like they want to push me out the door. And I have a feeling that has to do with a lot of the asbestos work that I've been involved in over the last 28 years. I just wanted to get a clearer understanding about if the job is abolished, if it's not, what are my options, what can I do? I still would like to work for quite a few more years at the university.
Well, once you do get it, I want to get your number, work location, and all those things, and we will have this conversation. I'll also put you in touch with Mike Moses, which is your union lawyer, so we will, we'll do everything we can to put you some clarity in that situation, so you're not wondering, you know all your rights, and we'll be able to speak to that from the legal point of view, and you know exactly on what is, especially if the title might be. Thank you.
When we speak of workplace safety, I work at Kennedy Commons, and we have, they pump the food, and they leave the things outside
for several weeks for waste pickup. There are times when we come to work, there are maggots on the dock area where we come to work in. It has created a problem with rats in the building. The area is infested with rat droppings under the station. There are times when we go under the station to clean. You may find a rat in a mouse trap, and if he's not in the trap, he's in there looking at you.
Damn. Ooh-wee.
It is a health hazard. You can smell the infestation from the dropping in the urine in our work area.
You want to see any comments?
Yes, I do. There was one week we actually caught 8 rats in one week. 8.
We'll talk to you too. Yes, we will. Any other new business? Yes, sir.
Just want to ask about the president and vice president office. You said appointed by the board of governors of the union, or is it going to be put to a vote to the union body members? Louis Glenn, that was my primary person to come to
When
today.
you say the president and vice president office,
Of the union, I didn't know how, since President Richard has passed, I didn't know how the office is going to be, whether that's going to be, a voting pit to the union body or the appointed position.
a term is normally 3 years, not normally it's 3 years.
Okay.
And when the term ends, we have an election. Just as in most cases that the lead person falls, where in the bylaw, whether it's the country or wherever the bylaw speaks to succession. Our bylaw speaks to succession as something the president will fall, that the vice president automatically takes that seat. It does not, it won't be an election. Matter of fact, elections and nominations are next month. So there's always election every 3 years. And by our bylaw, when the vice president fell, which ours is, the vice president became the president, which is right. That happened to be me. It leaves the president then with the choice, it's not a vote, but who would be the EVP. And as you weren't here, my choice is the EVP, is Jason Lacy. It's not something that, according to our bylaws, becomes a vote at the board or the membership.
So I couldn't hear you. So you're saying the president position was by choice, or Richard chose to be the president? It wasn't to
No,
vote.
it was a vote.
It was vote
Richard was voted. Yeah, all presidents are voted in office.
by the
membership.
By the membership. Okay.
Everybody holds the office.
So you feeling his term has been a lot of term?
His term, since he passed, is then filled by the vice president, who then becomes the president.
Okay.
And then according to the bylaws, the president is left with the choice to choose who will be the vice president.
Okay. So Richard's term was a lifetime.
No, every 3 years.
Oh, every 3 years.
Every 3 years. No, there ain't no lifetime. You don't have no lifetime. Anything, anywhere. Every 3 years, we have an election. So we have a president, we have an executive vice president, we have a treasurer, we have a secretary, we have what we call a vice president, SOS, and then we have 9 board members. All of those positions are elected by vote. Every 3 years. That no one gets lifetime, nobody nobody. And there will always be an election every 3 years.
So are you filling out the term of his?
The answer is yes. And in November, this November, we will have an election. But at our next meeting, our next union meeting, I think it's October the 4th, and I could be wrong, but I think it is October the 4th, we will nominate, you will nominate, not we, folks sitting down there in those seats, will nominate people to move forward. So the first thing that will be put up for bid, if that's the right word, or office that will be nominated is the president's office. Someone will sit up here and say, taking nominations for president, CWA 4501. That's going to happen next month on the 4th. From the floor, someone will say, I nominate Keith Glenn. And you would then have the choice of saying, I accept, decline, or whatever that might be. Someone else may say, I nominate Lynn Cornegay. She will have the choice to say, I accept or decline. After so much time, that office, that seat for nomination will be closed off. The next seat that will go up, open up the door for EVP.
Vice President.
Executive Vice President.
Executive Vice President.
And then, I'm going to say, I nominate Jason Lacey. Somebody else is going to say something else.
Okay.
And there's so much time, that door going to be closed.
Okay.
And each office will work in that way. Names will be compiled. From E-board and all. And if you look there and you're the only person in that spot, then you know that you have, in essence, you will either retain a seat, keep a seat. But if you're not the only one in that particular spot, you will know then that you're about to campaign for it. And that campaign will last a month. Or really to the next, we'll pick a voting day.
That's what I was getting at, if there's a company, is their initial name, then there'll be set up, if there are two people vying for president and vice president, then
Every spot.
there's going to be...
Unless there is not someone to oppose him.
Okay.
I want to make sure on that everyone, does everybody understand that?
Understanding that, this someone was out front passing, at the picnic you had, someone was out front passing out literature, so that's why I came today. I wanted to get an understanding of what's the process.
That's the
process. Okay.
That's the process. Yes, sir.
In reference to what he was talking about, as far as the person that was passing out the literature, I think it was just former President Gary Joseph at that time. I think he was trying to throw himself, wanting to get back in the local, as far as being part-time, knowing that he can't come in the local as being part-time, he has to be full-time.
Since you said it enough. One, you have to be a member. And if you pay your dues, you can run. Students don't run for commission. Also, you have to be a member in good standing to run for office.
Right. Absolutely.
And you also have to been paying at least dues for, and I'll have to go back and check, at least 6 months, which really says that a person in his probationary status cannot walk in the door and become your president. There are some stipulations in there as to who can run, who's else going to run, and where you need to be. And that's a fact. Yes, sir.
Describe good standing when you said the person...
There are certain things that you may do that will take you out of good standing. with the local union. You may have done some things, a transgression that you may have stolen. Allow me to say that. You may have, give it any, let's make sure that they write it down in time.
Oh, Sean Holland. Sean Holland.
You may have stolen, you may have harmed someone, you may have done something that violates one of the parts of the bylaws or the charter. You may have done something that took you out of good standing. And so, that you would know if you were found to be not in good standing. You would know what action you took, what action you did that put you in that sort of place or position.
Unless you're Gary Joseph.
We won't dwell there. I don't want to dwell there. Any other new business? Being, one of the things that our office manager pointed out is being a card-carrying member. That's a neat one. It's one of the things that makes you a member in good standing, but it does need to be clear. That means if you haven't signed your union card and you're not a member, you haven't signed a member card, you're what's called a fee payer. If you haven't signed that card, then you don't have the right to run for office or vote. That is correct. And you don't vote also. Any other new business? Yes.
I just want to reiterate, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we have phone banking at the CWA. So, whoever wishes to volunteer, it's at 395 East Broad Street. We're almost at the corner of Broad and Queen.
Don't make it time.
I think probably like 4 to 6, 4 to 9, whatever time you want to come in. Usually I come in on either Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Go in, you don't have to spend a whole great deal of time. You just give an hour. If you give an hour, that would be cool. So whatever you can do to help.
Man.
Yes. My new business is I just want to know, as far as the student life, when are we going to find out about a raise, or if there is any raise coming?
There is indeed a raise. We are in the process, and have been in the process of working out some difficulties in that situation. You're most certainly going to get a raise and make that clear. There's going to be a raise. I would just say there was some shenanigans in that term. And the way raises were trying to be met out this particular period. They tried to divide us. I'll just say that. And, so we are doing everything to make sure that division does not occur. You will get a raise. You will have a raise. I assure you, you'll have a raise. You'll have it on your paycheck when it's supposed to be there. We are just making sure that that raise is reflective in the same for all of us, because we are one. That's our goal, not to allow them to divide us. So the answer is yes, there is a raise.
So you're saying when the student life gets the FOD, it gets to all the departments to get it.
We always have the same rate.
Because I was told that this, whatever, the professors and the teachers get, whatever they get, ours will mirror theirs. That's what I was told on the last contract when we got it, or the last time we got it rate. I was understood that when the teachers, or the faculty gets, which is the teachers, the professors get, then the FOD.
In past years, we've had it, you've been here earlier, we have language that mirrors Me Too. And so that has been a standard practice you find in many contracts. It says, I get what you get. This contract has some language that's a little ambiguous, for the lack of a better word. Okay. And we've had, since we have moved on, what we used to call the Lulu letter. It used to be called the Aluto letter, in which he would come out and decree what the raises were going to be for the university. Right. Aluto been retired, so it's something else now. But we're making sure that that letter reads the same for everybody.
So will it be based on merit?
That answer is yes. So that is something that we intend to work on in the contract that we will be working on as we move forward. Because you're still under the performance. So since you're there, we have to do something different in the next contract, but that's what we are.
So now that we have the evaluation, you have distinguished, commendable, successful,
That's the student life.
yeah,
What about it?
what are difference between successful, commendable, and distinguished?
Those things have not been determined what rate is what. That's what we are. But that's like for any other level. There's always a difference. But those members can't give anyone at this point in time because we haven't made sure that each person's division, we're working on that issue, make sure that's what we're talking about.
I thought the raise was based on the union contract. It wasn't based on merit. It was the last go round. Was it based on? I thought there was one. Like last time I got around 2%, 1.5, 2, somewhere around I think it was, and it was 1% was based on the union cost, what I call a better cost of living raise through the union. The other 0.5% came from the merit.
For maybe the last 6 years at least, there has been some performance, as it's called here, or merit pay in every raise. For the last 6 years, that's not new. We have attempted to always have an across-the-board amount, and then the other has been meted out into performance proportion. So, and that's been going on at least 6 years, and if I really think about it, 7, because it was in the last half of one contract, the very last year. This ends in 14, so before then it was 12, so it looks like going back all the way to 2006. It's probably at the end of that contract we begin to talk about, in the very last year of that contract, talk about performance pay. So it's been actually in 3 separate contracts, so that's not new.
The whole thing was performance, just part of it.
One more time. Every year there's always been a proportion.
Okay.
That is for across the board rate. Every year we've made sure that there's across the board raise and then performance.
And that's something that you are fighting to continue to have across the board raise. Is something that you issue in the next contract or whatever.
Well, in the next contract, we'd like to see performance go away.
Oh, 100%. You're trying to eliminate altogether.
But we haven't got to here. But that also takes you all pegging behind us.
Right.
You make that clear.
So us, the union body, the working body standing behind you.
Yes.
Supporting it. Okay.
Yeah. Because we brought those things to the floor. And let's make it clear. People get a little tired when you think ain't no raise coming.
Right.
People start bagging up if they think that you may not eat the contract. But that's part of fair and they'll fight back. Now we're at 9:50. All right, let me make sure. Talk to me. How you doing? I'm sorry, you're Bob Willis.
I want to know, okay, next year, 2012,
15.
Anyway, the shift, is it, I don't know, is it a rumor or what? Is they going to change the shift to 8 o'clock?
Those things I don't know. I really don't know. So I have not been told that your shift is going to change. But let's make your contract says right now that they can move your shift so many hours just by giving you a 2-week notice. And you worked on both sides, both management and in the union, and back in the union. So you know there's the ability to move a shift so much one way or the other without having to negotiate for it. That is really like 2 hours. So if a person has a shift that normally starts at 5:30, he or she can be asked to come in at 6:30 with just a 2-week notice. That's in the contract. Now, if they want to move you from one shift to the next shift, they have to give you a 21-day notice. That's in the contract right now. People don't often read it or understand it, but that's something we also got to know. We got to know our rights, and we got to know we come to demand for when we start talking about asking you what you want to see change. I personally think that for me to move, if I'm working night, I'm working on the night shift, you come to demand I move to the morning shift. I've got a job, I'm working 2 jobs because I don't make enough money and I need that job in order to make it. It's a great sacrifice. Those are the kind of things that we have to talk about. Is that the kind of language we want to keep in the contract? And what are we willing to do to get that kind of language out the contract? So looking at that contract, and that's asking you all, when I talk about working conditions, terms of your employment, that's what I'm talking about, how you're treated on the job. Because it can be very offensive as far as I'm concerned when the manager comes and tells me, Kevin, next week I need you to come in at 8. And I know you just knocked me out of my part-time job. Right. That I need to keep me and my wife and my kids in the house. That I need to help me pay my car note or to heat the house up in the wintertime. That can be very offensive. You don't have to be verbal. You can jack me up. We have to begin to think in those terms. Because for a lot of people, that's what occurs. You've hurt them from a financial standpoint. And the employer has the ability to do that, just with an act. You make a motion to... Is there a second?
No, can I say something quick? Okay. We have the minutes, we need to talk about the minutes from June. We haven't had a meeting from June, and I have the minutes, so they'll go ahead and get that taken care of. Right. Extend the...
We're going to do that. We do that after your adjournment. We do that after your adjournment. We're going to pull for check. Has everybody read the minutes?
I read them, but I just don't understand why my name is not on there.
Why your name ain't on there?
Because I was here.
Okay.
Oh, you mean as the, steward?
Well, yeah, and then I thought I made, oh, but we just ain't gonna worry about it. But just because that's it.
I can't remember.
We didn't put down that you were here?
Huh?
We didn't put down that you were here?
Yeah.
Will you forgive us for that?
Right.
You want to amend it?
No, it's fine.
I just want to know if you'll forgive us for not putting down that you were here.
I'll just forgive you.
All right.
I can't remember back then.
All right.
Put the notes of the
Right. Yeah. I'll make a motion that we pass it.
You make a motion that we approve the minutes?
We approve the minutes.
Can I get a second? Second by Wayne. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say the same. Second. Now that motion. You like giving me a motion? Motion to adjourn. We do that afterwards. I'm gonna make sure. I'm gonna make sure they got it. Second. Second by Lynn. All in favor. And then give me the bucket so we can do the fun part. Everybody's been waiting.
Why that? Oh, what is it like that?
Now, this is the best part of the meeting.
It really is.
Anybody hasn't got a ticket yet, please do so now. Anybody got a ticket yet?
Anybody don't have a ticket?
Anybody don't have a
You
ticket?
can't participate in the best part if you don't have a ticket. You need a ticket.
Tell me.
Going, let's go.
It might help you out. It might help you out.
Yeah, gonna help me keep the lights on.
First person to be blessed, 0, 5, 7, 6. Where's he at? Where's she at? 5, 7, 6. Where they at? See? Come on, get your blessings, man. Come on, come on. Go it around. Give you a around. Now you